Views expressed here are not supported by and do not reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Yes, sir. We are back. You are plugged out of whatever mental rut you've been in for the past week, and you are now plugged in with Molly and Joe, the Mental Warriors podcast, alongside our new co-host for the season, Zachariah Israel. Salute, salute, brother. Salute to you. Definitely a plus in the addition to the show. What we're going to do first and foremost, we're going to speak about what we're doing today. Today's topic is unlearning the N word. That is unlearning the N word, something that I struggle with, something that I know that is learning the N word plus unlearning the N word. That's right, learning the N word first. Then we're going to talk about how we're going to unlearn the N word. All right, and the N word being that word. You know the N word. We all know what the N word is. It's a nasty word in some circles. It's not so nasty in other circles. So that's one of the topics that we're talking about today. Of course, we're going to pay homage to the ancestors. You know how we do. Myself, I have someone that I think is special. I think I might have said him before, but if I did, so what? Giving them props again, right? Zachariah has someone special today, someone near and dear, someone from the West Coast. Give you a hint, because Zachariah over in the West Coast, he doing it up over there. Ain't you doing it up over there, Zachariah?
A little something, not too much. I'm trying to, they say, in Spanish, there's a phrase that says, "Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres." It means, tell me who you walk with and I'll show you who you are. So they say, you hang around 5 broke people, you're going to be the 6. You hang around 5 millionaires, you're going to be the 6. I'm trying to get in the right circle, man.
You're trying to get in the right circles, right? I hear you, man. From what you told me behind scenes, man, you on the way, brother. You're definitely on the way, and I'm glad you're on board. I'm glad we got the meetings that we got set up for the future of the show, for the future of what we're trying to do, because this is bigger than the podcast. I'm guessing to you, this is bigger than the podcast to me, and I know it's bigger than the podcast to our man Joe. Shout out to Joe. He was under the weather today. Shout out to him. Speedy.
We ain't start yet, but it ain't the same without you, Joe.
Yeah. It's already not the same without you, man. Speedy recovery. Hope all is well in your world, man. Get back here next week, strong.
All positive energy, healing energy to you, Joe.
Yes. And then, of course, we're going to do our current events. Our current event section. We're going to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to talk about what we're going to talk about Travis Scott. We're going to talk about Dr. James Whitfield over there in Texas. And we're going to talk about the Queens DA throwing out 60 convictions. All right. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, Joe, see, I said Joe, right? See, man. I'm so used to Joe being around, man. I was about to say, yo, Joe, man, but it's not.
I know we look alike, but you can't get me mixed up.
Yeah, look alike. Yeah, definitely. If they only knew in podcast world, right?
If you could see a person's spirit in their aura, I'm sure it'd be different colors that change according to the way we feel.
Listen, I'm telling you, some people is not going to see this live on video. Some people is never going to see us on video at all. So there's going to be some people out there that's going to listen to the podcast and they're going to feel all of your energy, not knowing anything about who you are, and then base a judgment all on that. Right? What you think?
Yeah, I'm used to breaking the first judgment anyway after the first conversation. So even if you saw me, you're gonna know this guy's different.
The stereotypes. Get rid of the stereotypes.
Off, man.
Yeah, I want y'all to know. Get rid of the stereotypes. That brother right there, man. Listen. He got more melanin coursing through his veins than a lot of us. Trust me. All right.
by my jeans from the weather.
So once again, we're on different platforms. Of course, we're some of our platforms is Amazon Music, Stitcher, Podchaser, TuneIn, Reasons Podcast, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, iTunes Podcasts, and of course the Evening Rush Network. And also you can download the Evening Rush Network app, available on both Android and Apple. Okay.
Are we still on Zeno FM?
I believe so. Zeno FM is one of them as well. You can listen to us. You can watch us. Just get plugged in with the Mental Warriors podcast. All right.
Just go out there to all the listeners. You know, the more you share, the more you spread the word. You know, it's still the biggest form of advertisement and the most effective form of marketing. We're not doing this for money. We do this because it's near and dear to our heart, and this is a movement that we stand behind. So all the help we could get, if you could share and talk about it, let people know, and invite people to watch.
And that's the crazy part about it all, is that, you know, you have to play a popularity contest in a sense. You know what I mean? Hey, look at us, like us, share us, you know. And that's the sad part about this game. But we're in the game nonetheless, right? So as we always do, we speak about a little bit about sports, you know, because we're really about the mental. So, but sports give us a you know, a way to lay back and whatnot. The Evening Rush Network said, "What's good, family? What's going on over there at the Evening Rush Network?" Shout out to you guys over there. The Knicks lost recently. They've been doing just fine as of late. I went to a Giants game this past Sunday. They won. They won. Yeah, it was a cool experience. Took the wife,
Nice.
took her mom, and who is one of the biggest Giants fan there is. So it was a cool experience and whatnot. But that's my sports for the week. So let's dig into what we're here for. You know what I mean? We're here to pay homage. We're here to give respect to the culture and whatnot. So first and foremost, we're going to pay homage to our ancestors. Zachariah, who you got today, brother?
Well, this man really needs no introduction. I'm honored to say I had a personal ongoing encounter with him through one of my first jobs at Can-Am Recording Studios in Tarzana, which is where I happen to be right now, ironically.
Oh, wow.
Tarzana, California. The studio is not too far from here. It's a music studio that was contracted by Death Row. And I know y'all like, who is this? Who's he gonna talk about? Oh man, this man is so legendary. He was not only a rapper. Last week, 2 weeks ago, you mentioned he's a poet. Also, this man was actually a civil rights activist in his own right. He came from, you know, roots of the Black Panther Party. And so I just gave it away right there. None other than the late, great Tupac Shakur. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just to share my history with this man. So I got a job at Can-Am Studios, you know, and I was like 17, just turning 18. You know, all the Death Row artists was there. I was with him, Snoop, Dogg Pound on a daily basis. And he was just so passionate about what he does. I don't think people really understood it. You could hear it in the music, but he took it so serious, man. Like I used to sit and watch him, you know, like write a song in like 20 minutes. Two quick stories. So one day I walk in the studio, John B shows up, which went to the middle school up the block from where I grew up. And he starts, you know, composing music, writing stuff. He wrote his own music, by the way, with notes and everything. And Tupac comes in and he hears it and immediately starts bobbing his head, pulls out the pen and the pad, goes in the booth, and in 20 minutes he finished the song, and that was "Are You Still Down?"
Okay.
And so second quick story, it's gonna be three, by the way. I said it's gonna be three. So second quick story. I come in the studio one day and I'm doing my job preparing the studio. I know Pac has a session, so I made it my business to try to get the studio, because it was 2 studios. Whenever Pac was coming in, I made it my business. I was a runner. So, you know, I had to prep the studio, hook up equipment, and then whatever they needed, if they needed food, if they needed weed, if they needed drink, I would be the one to run and go get it. If they needed a reel of music from another studio across town, I would have to go get it, you know. And so, you know, I was the same way I am then now, and I never, you know, kissed any butt or showed like, you know, starstruck. And I think Pac respected that. He treated me different to the other runners, but so having said that, he comes in one day and he's flipping because he can't find a pencil. And everybody's looking at him like, damn, bro, you ain't got to flip because you can't find a pencil. And he's like, you know what? When the Wall Street people go to their office, he said, and they have everything that they need on their desk ready for them. He said, so what? Because I'm a black man and I'm a rapper, that it's a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal if I don't have everything I need when I come to the studio. He said, when I'm driving here, all my thoughts is in my head. I know what I'm gonna say. I know what I'm gonna write. And now that I don't have a pencil, y'all effing up my man, we talking about Pac. He said, y'all fucking up my whole vibe. He said, I tell you what, I ain't paying for this shit. You tell Suge, I said if he got a problem with it, he could come to me. And he was the only person that was not afraid of Suge Knight, and Suge spoke to him differently than anybody else. When Suge used to come in, people used to run and hide. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Put it this way, the carpets were red in that studio for a reason.
I got you.
And so last quick story is gonna be one sentence. Pac passed me the spliff. You know,
wow.
I'm sitting there listening to
Wow.
I was looking at a Skibby magazine, I'm gonna call it that. And we're listening to his new recordings, and he's listening to All Eyes on Me, and somebody's talking to him, and I said, he don't hear you, he all up in that magazine. And he turned around and heard that and was like, oh, you got me, right? And so we standing up and he passes me the spliff, and he's just holding it like this. He didn't really pass it to me. He just goes like this, you know? And so I didn't want to grab it and be like, hey, what the fuck you doing? You know, so he go like this. He nudged me and was like, here. And I was like, oh, shit, Pac passed me. So I didn't want to steam it. You know, I took my 2 pulls and passed it back. And then I was looking at the magazine. Somebody started talking to me. And Pac, he don't hear you. He all up in that magazine. And I was like, oh, man. That was like my little, you know, one of my encounters that I actually had a personal, we had a vibe, we had a moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. Great legendary rapper, and just a powerful individual.
Well, if I know you was going there, I probably would have switched up who I chose. But nah, nonetheless, who I pay homage to this week, you know, I can't top them stories because I never met the man a day in my life. But I'm gonna give him his praise right now, and that's the great, late, legendary Redd Foxx.
Oh wow.
Redd Foxx. John Elroy Sanford was born in
John Elroy
Sanford, also known as Redd Foxx. All right. He was born into poverty, as they say, St. Louis on December 9th, 1922. He had a ruddy complexion, as they would say. That's why his name was Redd, of course. Mm-hmm. Notorious for his frank, tell it like it is style, Redd Foxx broke new ground for minorities and comedians alike by joking about everything from sex to color barriers. He brought simmering and taboo issues into the open. His candor on stage not only jump-started what is now considered a war with censors, but also inspired and enabled other comedians to achieve more than had ever been possible. He is the king of comedy. He is the man. Like, I used to love his show, Sanford and Son and all that, man. Listen, that used to be one of my favorite sitcoms because that was one of the first, that was one of the first places that I saw the N-word being used on television. Like it was nothing. Like it was like, you know, it was. So that's part of our topic for today. And so fitting that I chose Redd Foxx, who when it came down to the censors, he used the N-word just like a lot of other comedians use the N-word in a derogatory sense, and as well as in
term of endearment.
Yeah, a term of endearment, as they say. So we're going to speak to those things in our topic in the future. But Red Fox was definitely one of those guys that I got a laugh out of, and I learned something from him at the same time. So let's give a shout out to Red Fox and his and all he's done for the comedy world, and all he's done in the name of the civil rights movement, because he also was fighting the good fight as well, with his censorship and with his style of comedy. So
Yeah.
shout out to Red Fox, of course.
Very
All right.
well.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on ahead as we always do. You know, we're gonna move on ahead, and we have it outlined basically as so. But we're gonna move on to current events. All right. This is the current events time. Basically, this is the time where we go through some of the topics that's been in the news. You know, whether it be locally, whether it be nationally, whatever it is, it's going to touch on some of the things that we find important for our cause, you know, for what we're trying to tell our people. All right. So today, first and foremost, what we got is the Queens DA throws out 60 convictions due to lying cops. According to The Root, after an investigation into police misconduct, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz asked the New York Supreme Court to vacate the questionable convictions, which involved lying and other misconduct by 3 members of the NYPD. The former cops have since been tried and convicted for crimes ranging from perjury to sexually assaulting people they had in custody. All right, Zachariah, with news like this, how do we restore faith in our justice system and our police?
We don't. We don't. See, this is like, you know, trying to fight not one giant, but a whole population of giants, you know? And the best we could do, I think I've said this before, the best we could do is teach our children not to grow up with that mentality
Mhm.
that you are a victim, not to grow up with the mentality that you are subject, but to grow up with the mentality that your biggest, I'll tell my sons, your strongest muscle is here,
Right.
you know. And when you build this, you
And
become
where is that? What is that? What is that?
your mind, you become a free thinker. And they could take everything away from us. They could take away your freedom. They could take away your food. They could even take away your life.
Mm-hmm.
But while you're here, there's one thing that they can't take from you. I don't care if they lock you up. I
Right.
don't care if they paralyze you. They can't take this.
Mm-hmm.
They never take
Indeed.
that from you. And I think that's the only that's the biggest weapon that we have, because you can't fight them when they control, like you said last week. What does it look like when they own everything? Right?
Right.
How do we do, you know, how do we boycott? How do we not feed the system when everywhere we turn, they own it?
Right.
Right? So they don't own this.
Right.
Right?
Indeed. 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 And I agree with you totally. There is no faith in this justice system. There is no faith in this police.
Yeah.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, the fact that the cops was convicted of some type of crime, I think that helps, you know, in a sense of giving us an idea that they're doing something, or they're trying, I guess.
I think it's a facade, man. I think it's just like, look, we're doing something so we don't incite a riot. You know what I mean? It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bleeding wound. Till you stop the bleeding, you can't really patch it up, right?
Right. So with news like this, for me, I don't restore faith in the justice system. I restore faith in our system, in the system for our community. You know what I mean? For people of like ourselves, because to pin it as a black thing will just exclude you in a sense.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
but I've been
You
a
know what I'm
victim
saying?
of it myself, also, just because of the environment that I'm in, you know, or that I
Right.
was in at a certain time. You
So
know,
it's a matter of a system for all humanity in a sense. You know what I mean?
well, I mean, one thing that people fail to realize too, I hate when I hear people say, "Oh, they can't do that." The government, the cops, they do what the hell they want, and they're gonna get away with it. They run the system. And when it comes to police, you got black police too, man. They're not black. They're blue. People got to understand, when they become cops, their allegiance and their loyalty is to that shield.
Yeah.
You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. So when we're looking at this, so to restore faith in our justice system, we're in agreement that basically we don't restore faith in it at all. We don't try to restore faith in it at all. We should lean towards being self-sufficient in that sense, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we never lay down. We never accept it. You know, even though we're fighting a losing battle, we still gonna fight to the last breath. We're gonna scratch and claw and do everything that we can, you know, but also be smart about it.
Okay.
You know, you're not gonna walk in front of the bullet. You know, you're gonna be smart. You know what I'm saying? And attack at night. You gotta be stealthy. You know.
Okay. So next current event, Dr. James Whitfield, the first black principal at Colleyville Heritage High School in Texas, was officially removed from his position over what he said was a false accusation of promoting critical race theory. Can we consider this to be reverse racism?
So he felt like he had to defend himself because he was just being accused of promoting critical race theory.
How are you being a black man? How are you being a black man and you could be accused of teaching your history?
I think Joe said
promoting your history, promoting who you are.
Joe said it the best. He said it's not, he said they called it critical race theory. It's called teaching black history.
Right. That's what it's always been when I was growing up.
You know, but they have to put it in a connotation or in a context to make it seem like you're doing something offensive that's wrong. You know, but it was also a meme that I remember that Joe posted. We never shared it on the show. And it was like a white man saying, we got to protect our heritage. And he had the Confederate flag behind him. And then in the next pic, he was like some redneck. It was a cartoon. It was like editorial. And then in the next pic, he was like in a classroom saying, no, don't teach that. We got to protect our heritage.
Right. I remember that. Right.
When it's your favor to execute power over, who you think is under you, then you want to protect your heritage and you have the right to wave that flag. But otherwise, don't tell us what we did that was bad.
Well, labeling things has always been their way of sort of massaging away certain things when they change the label of it. So when I was growing up, it was basically you were teaching Black history. You were teaching African American history. That was it. You was teaching us who we are, whether it was wrong or right or wrong. Because remember, they whitewashed it a lot then.
Yeah.
To the point of you want to change it to say, okay, it's actually a theory. Look, it's critical race theory. So when you say a theory, that's when you're saying, okay, you could play with it now. You're playing with words now. You understand what I'm saying? It's not factual. It's just a theory that people came up with, how things went, how things were, how things are projected. Correct?
And we're talking about a people that plays the word game so well that they've been brainwashing us since our youth, and we go for it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so what we're talking about here, they're calling it critical race theory. Don't forget the first two words. Like you want to leave out the word black, you want to leave out the word history, right? And it's all critical race. Because when I first heard it, I was like, okay, what are we talking about? Until I start looking it up and reading articles and stuff. But you know what the thing is? It's no problem when you use the word black, when you promote a phrase on mainstream media that's called black on black crime.
Right.
White on white crime.
Why not just
based on another race crime?
Why not just get right to the point? You know what I mean? It's Black history, like it's been.
It's to create a mindset, of inferiority.
Someone wrote in, it says, not just about history, it's about systemic design to keep Blacks oppressed, and our actual history details the development of those systems.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Because and then just even making the name critical race theory is an example of such things, because
That's right.
it's the same what they did with the math when they said common core math, instead of it just being math, you know what I mean, the way we, you know, mathematics, the way we put it, you know, put it out there. No, we're talking about, you know what I mean, we're talking about common core as opposed to math,
That's right.
critical race theory as opposed to black history.
That's right.
Both of those things is just them playing with words. That's my
Yeah.
thing.
It's to tiptoe around it and not
Right,
address it.
right.
And I would I like to invite that person that commented to call in. We'd love to hear your take on some of these topics.
Yeah, you can always call in 929-441-2417. That's 929-441-2417. Thank you very much for your input. All right. So next topic, real quick, is this one's real quick. It's more comical than anything else. But Kyle Rittenhouse. All right, the young man, the young man who was in Illinois. Was it from Illinois? Where is he from?
I believe
Where's
so.
he from? Yeah. Yeah, he's from Illinois. He went over into Wisconsin last summer during the Black Lives Matter riots and the such. And he was supposed to be going over there to defend the stores.
Yeah, you
And
drove all the way in with your assault rifle.
right. We all know the story. We all know what's going on. So we all familiar with what's going on. And the trial is going on right now, which actually I think they wrapped it up. I think the defense rested today. And I don't think it's looking good, bro. I think he's going to get off. Because not only is the judge in cahoots, like the
Oh my
judge,
gosh, he's sticking up for him in the trial. Like, don't
yeah,
think that you know better to
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like smashing the prosecutor, you know.
yeah. Wow,
And this guy put on the act of his life crying on the stand.
What did you see it, man? I'm talking
Yeah, I
about
think
that
it's to
one.
the point, like, you know, in the movies, they give the boxer the blue Gatorade with the extra strength in it. They probably gave him something to make him emotional so he could cry hard. You
Man,
know,
listen, bruh. He wasn't even. It wasn't a tear even dropping. It was all kinds of, all
yeah,
kinds
he
of
was hyperventilating.
sniffling. Yeah, man. Listen, he was just doing some acting. He was just trying to get over, trying to show some remorse, so that he could get over on the jury. And I don't know. The way the judge was talking, it looked like he gonna get off, man. That's
Yeah,
what I say, man.
I got the same vibe, and going back to, you know, losing faith in the system, I lost it a long time ago, and this is just another example that when I was watching it, I was like, I gotta change the channel.
Yeah. And last but not least, for our current events for the week, tragically, Travis Scott concert over there in Houston, because I think he's from Houston, I believe. At least 8 dead and many injured after a crowd surge at one of his concerts.
Yeah,
Um, that, things happen. It's a big crowd. Be safe out there when you go into these things, these events and whatnot. Try to have some self-control at the very least. If you see something dangerous, try to get up out of there. But what the question that comes to mind when you look at such masses and whatnot, and such ways that the artists can get in can touch the masses, what control does hip hop have over the masses, bro?
all right. Again, I might get too deep, man. But Markley, you know, I was in the game, man. I worked in studios starting out, like I told you, with Pac and Snoop. I came out here. I had songs on the radio. I did a song with Rihanna and T-Pain. Never met them. Had radio play. Did shows up and down the East Coast. I've been invited to VIPs. I've been invited to that back room with the red lights and, you know, the risque mask and the naked people walking around. And I left, you know, and after that I saw things change. Like I wasn't invited anymore. And you're not, if they test you to see if you're gonna be in that circle. And everybody that's in there, they were like, nah, that guy didn't sell it. So they all sold they sold, man. And let me tell you something. You know, it's
And
a it's a
and
real
doing,
thing, you know, blood sacrifices. You know, they signed the contracts in red ink to symbolize blood. You know, it's a lot of things that go on that the public doesn't know about, or some so-called conspiracy theories. And the YouTube videos talking about it is like, oh, that guy's bugging. He's going too far. But I've seen it. I've seen it up close. I know what it looks like. And that concert right there, you know, okay, quick conversation that I heard a video recording of. Guy was working in the music industry, because I got a buddy that got me that job at the studio. He's been working in the industry ever since he came out of school. He's about 10 years older than us. And he let me hear a conversation. It was a big name in the industry. He went and left to London. He was working with rock music and heavy metal. And then a conversation was played where he called somebody from out here, worked at Universal, and they said, hey, man, you need to get back over here, man. Things are blowing up and going crazy. He's like, well, what's the difference? He was like,
give me 1 second, Zach. Give me 1 second. We're going to let you finish up that story right after this commercial break from the Evening Rush Network. Peace.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
What's up, y'all? Your boy Shice, Mr. Talk of the Town, letting you know now the Evening Rush Network now has the app. So catch it on the Google Play and the App Store. And you can catch all your podcasts like The Evening Rush, Let's Talk Crazy, The Queens of NYC, Sex, Love, and Alcohol, Plug, TL Mac Fitness, I Am Nicole Clara, On Everything, and Getting to the Focus, and all in one place at the Evening Rush Network app. That's right. So catch all your favorite shows. What are you waiting for? Download it now.
All right, and we are back. Shout out to the Evening Rush Network, of course. And of course, we are sponsored by none other than Baller. Big Apple Leadership Academy for the Arts. That is the place you want to send your child if you're in the Big Apple area, specifically Brooklyn right now. We're going to try to expand out to the other boroughs. We're going to try to expand out to the nation. We're trying to get Baller South going on something. We're trying to get Baller West Coast. We're trying to get it everywhere. Trying to put the template up there. We're also on Instagram at PluggedMJ, Okay, so back to what we were talking about previously to the commercial. Travis Scott. Okay, what control now? As you're wrapping up what your story is and whatnot, I need you to lean over to. They are getting the artists are being controlled. So in the artists being controlled, hip hop is being controlled through the artists, correct? I mean, the people are being controlled through the artists, correct?
The people are being controlled through the artists and the music itself. That's what the story is speaking to right now. But before I even jump back in, I'm going to say we now return you back to your regularly scheduled unprogramming.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, you got to write that down.
So this conversation took place between these two industry insiders that work, you probably read their names on the credits of a lot of albums, in hip hop, rock and roll, and also heavy metal. And that's where it started first. If you remember when we were kids just coming up, heavy metal music was labeled as the devil worshippers music, and they used to play it backwards, Led Zeppelin, and they used to have phrases in it and stuff. Well, the conversation went like this: hey man, you need to get back over here. And he's like, okay, so what's the difference? He's like, I've been in UK for 6 years. He's like, well, you need to get back over here, man. And he was like, why? What's going on? He was like, well, we got control of rap music now. He's like, ever since rap music came out, he's like, now we're using rap music. And he's like, so what's the difference though? He's like, why rap? He's like, because now we can get to an audience that we never could touch with rock and roll and heavy metal. Right? And if you think it's just about the black community, it's not, because more white kids listen to rap music than they do heavy metal.
So it's just a matter of mind control.
Right. And so he said, okay, well, let me ask you a few questions. He's like, all right, shoot. He said, does every label still have 7 to 13 main A&Rs? He said, absolutely. Every major has that. He said ever since 2000, the year 2000, Universal and MCA and Sony formed the Trilateral Commission. So that's when they bought out all the other labels. That's when Master P started, losing his owning his own label status, because now he became a sub label.
Okay.
Right?
All
and
right.
then, okay, real quick to sum it up. So he says, yes, okay. He says, do they still have a temple room in every main office? Yes. Do they still put gins in the master copy? He said, yes. Is there still a rabbi present? He said, yes. Gins are spirits, and they put it on the master copy so that when it plays, it gives out a vibe. Yeah, when you feel it, it's a spiritual thing, man. And even to the frequency of rap music, it's all played in frequencies that are not in alignment with our spine, which our spine is at 482, the frequency 482.
That's deep. And guess what? That's above my pay grade in my mind. So
that's why people be like, that's how deep it is. The devil worshippers, they know this stuff.
Right. And I'm far from it. So that's one thing, right? So we're gonna go to our next segment real quick. All right. It's just one of our funny little segments. You know what I mean? So let's go to You Know What I Mean. Throw up my meme for me, please, this week. This week's meme is, where is it? 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 Okay, well, we're gonna there it go. Welcome to church. There's a guy standing there saying, "Welcome to church. You won't be needing this." Pulling out the brain from his constituent, obviously.
Oh my God.
That says it all in a nutshell.
So
Welcome to you. It's how accurate, right? You won't be needing this. Give me your brain. And and I think that's welcome to any organized religion.
I believe the same thing. It's to control.
It's about control. Yeah. So moving on to the topic of the day. Learning the N-word. Oh man. I thought I knew about it. I thought I knew so much about it. I mean, I guess I know about it. I guess I'm learned about it. But I want to unlearn. I want to stop saying it. I want to stop letting it be a part of who I am, a part of who my sons is, a part of who the young men around me is. So let's get to that, man. It's deep, right? Learning the N-word. According to an article in the Washington Post in February 2021, 2 prominent journalists were disciplined, largely because of uttering or defending the use of the worst racial slur in the English language, the N-word. Donna McNeil, a star New York Times reporter, and Slate's Mike Pesca, a popular podcast host who debated with colleagues in an online office messaging app about whether non-Black people should be allowed to quote the word. What do you think? What do you think, Zach?
Okay, well, surprisingly, I have a lot of insight on this subject.
Okay, well, let's move on down the topics. So we're gonna keep it.
I'm gonna keep it to the question, and
right.
I think no, you shouldn't. First of all, personally, I don't even think Black people should be duped into thinking it's okay to use it, and especially if you're a non-Black person, quote unquote Black, because I don't agree with those terms anyway. It's all part of the brainwash, and now you think it's somebody saying it's okay for you to say it, and for you to be ignorant of the history of what it has done and the effects of it and why it's even a thing. That's kind of a very selfish and ignorant mentality.
Like, for those who probably will never watch us, I guess it's I guess it's important for them to understand where you're coming from with your words. Zachariah is not a Black man. Just if anybody didn't know, he, in terms of what our culture, what our society would deem, he would be called a white man.
Even though Black people may not think that.
Right. So with that being said, now watch this. On the flip side to that, I don't care. I think they should be allowed, because me personally, I don't put that much energy into that word to say that someone should be allowed or disallowed. I think they should be allowed because we have a problem with not saying it. If we have such a problem with it being said by others, then we should practice not saying it more as a people. And I don't think there's any way we can wash it down to make it taste better than what it actually meant in the past and what it's meant when a redneck might say it or any other racist person might say it. So if we have such a problem with it, another non-black person saying it, then we should stop saying it. Okay. So in a separate interview, Nicole Hannah-Jones, who led the Times prize-winning 1619 project about the role of slavery in American history, said, people know, and particularly white people know, that this is a word that you don't say unless there's absolutely 100% necessary, justifiable reasons to say it. For instance, you are reading a direct quote from someone in a very particular circumstance, academic setting, a speech, something like that. So is there a situation where in your mind where anybody should be able to justifiably say it, whether it be in a racist tone or in a friendly tone?
No, because I think when we talk about, and this is something I speak of often, man, on this podcast and then outside of this podcast, I'm all for unity of people, but I understand that that's impossible with everybody. You know what I mean? And it's unfeasible to be realistic about that. But if you have that mindset to try to be an example of what it looks like to be a free thinker, and you educating people on the effects and trying to be empathetic, then no, there is no circumstance where it's available. If I'm reading a quote and I get to that word, like earlier we were off camera and I was talking about how it's in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, and the word is used in the form with a D at the end, and he's speaking about the characteristics of a person. It has nothing to do with their color, and he's talking about how it means somebody that's stingy or selfish, right? But that's Old English, right? And we don't know what that word is because it was translated from Hebrew, so it's probably not the same. But the point is that even as I was talking about it, I'm not going to say the word, because once you understand that I should be empathetic, it may not bother you, but there are other Black people out there who have been in situations where they've been called that, or somebody they know was called that right before they died and got murdered. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a whole different story. And we have to try to step into other people's shoes, man, if we're ever going to walk side by side or try to understand each other. Even if you don't want to walk side by side, you have to try to understand people, man. You have to be able to look at perspectives outside of your own. It's just a part of growth and maturity.
Indeed. And I agree with you. 100% on that one, because I think, like I said, I say in no way should it be accepted anymore. Yeah. I think it's a done deal. Because when you even look at the definition of it, right? When you look at the definition of it, it's just a play on words, right? Because the Latin term negro, you know what I mean? So they said, okay, we're going to call them so they played on it. So nigger, in a sense, isn't necessarily the negative term, but that's something that they were calling us as we were being beaten and done wrong in slavery. You know what I mean? As we was getting beat down in slavery, that's what they called us. That's what that's the term, nothing but a nigger. Like they could have used any word in the dictionary, and it still would have became derogatory, no?
Yeah, and if we look up the history of the word, it was actually a word in English that was used to describe certain characteristics before it was used as a derogatory connotation towards Blacks. Okay. You know, before slavery, English was spoken. Before the transatlantic slave trade, English was spoken. You know, and that word was even today, the real definition of the word is to describe characteristics, not the color of your skin. But because of the history of it, which is what I always say about, having Black pride, yeah, you can still have Black pride and be open to hearing other people. But at the same time, you still have to be open-minded that, okay, there's a history to this. That's why Black Pride should be something that's taught to the culture and the generation of children that came up that don't really understand the importance of it. So it's the same thing with that word. If you don't know the history of it, you're gonna use it loosely. You're not gonna understand how many people it hurt and died for it. And until then, you're gonna think it's
Okay. So Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, American classic, banned in schools across America for one reason, one word, nigga. All right, I said it, right? The N word. A word so offensive, it's usually called the N word, right? Because of this controversy, their newly released edition removes the N word and replaces it with slave. So the question is, does the general public equate the idea of the N word with slavery? And of course they do. It's synonymous. It's what it is. It's how it goes. What do we go? Yes, and it is still crazy because to sit here and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take one negative word and I'm going to just put, like, how did you put slave and think that was going to actually lighten up the blow for us?
I mean, but it goes back to what you talked about earlier. Also, when we were having a conversation off camera, that I was like, certain things are normal to this generation, and you're like, well, if you think about it, it is normal to every next generation that comes up. Different things are normal to them.
Because
right?
it's a matter of evolution, right? It's a matter of evolving.
With this word, there's a history behind it, but it's also different to this generation. It's normal to them, and they don't understand the history behind it. You know, I think
right. So that's why,
man, empathy is a huge word right here, man. That concerning this subject.
yeah, I mean, but how much empathy can you, like I said before, how much empathy can we really have if we continue to sit here and use the word loosely? We swing it around, N word this, N word that, my N word, my N
Okay,
word,
forgive
that,
me.
third.
I apologize. The word empathy is coming from my perspective. So with someone that walks in black skin every day, it's called sympathy. You know, because you know how it feels, but you're just uneducated on the history of the word. But you don't like it when it's said. It still makes you feel a way when somebody outside of your race or your color calls you that,
But
right?
that goes into something that we're going to speak to later, because other nationalities are called derogatory terms, but yet that is something that they don't call themselves, and it's something that they do not allow others to call them without seeing them. You understand? So there we have, we're going to speak to that one in a minute. All right. So I have a question. The N word and slave, we said the two terms are synonymous, right? I guess it goes hand in hand. You know what I mean?
I don't agree.
A slave, we talk about a slave, we're talking about a nigga, right?
We've been taught that. I don't agree. Slavery been going on since way before the transatlantic slave trade. And there were slaves of all color. If you look at the hieroglyphics in Egypt, there were slaves every single color on that wall. There was red, there was white, there was dark brown, there was all different colors, because back then it wasn't about, it was about what family and nation you came from, if you were in power or not. That's it. And you were sold if you were not. That's it. You know, the same with human beings has been going on longer than prostitution.
You're right. And so it's not synonymous with slavery.
No.
But now when you say it's not synonymous with slavery, so I'm looking at it like this, right? But what is the N word? Is it so what does it trigger in us? So I'm gonna ask myself that question, right? What does it trigger in me to hear if a white man says it to me? I take it back to our time in slavery. So it's not synonymous with slavery, but it could be synonymous with our mentality to take us back to that time, correct?
Right. And that's when it was embedded for a negative purpose.
Right, because it still allows us to keep that mentality, because like we said, we're still sitting here mentally enslaved as well. And we're trying to take the chains off. That's why we're the mental warriors right now. We're sitting there trying to break the chains of your mind. So am I born a nigga? That's the question I'm gonna ask. Zachariah, can we be born niggas? Like, when you look at us, are we born niggas?
Life is based on perception. Like, our reality is based on perception. So to somebody you might be,
Mhm.
but you should never feel that way about yourself. And
Mhm.
no, I don't care how you grew up or what environment you grew up in, and you've been called that, or you've only been around white people that are racist, and you've never felt that love or acceptance from any other colored people but your own. You should never feel like that. That's something that was put upon you by the powers that be, for lack
Right,
of a better term right now.
right.
And you know, any, like I said before, man, if you call a child stupid every day, they're not going to be very bright. And if you get called that word every day, or you think it's okay, and you call yourself that, you know, my teacher used to tell me, and I even heard your father say this, you know, if you think it's okay to just go and urinate behind a garbage can in public, you don't think too highly of yourself. But if you think you're better than that, then you will think more highly of yourself. You will carry it more highly. If you think you a prince, you will carry it like a prince. If you think
Exactly.
you will carry it like a king.
And
If you think you're a slave, you're gonna carry it like one.
right. And to
You'll
that,
be easily manipulated.
and to that same question, no, of course not. I mean, that's an easy question for me. Am I born a nigga? No. Um, as a black man being born in the ghetto, as they would say, you feel that way. You sure feel that way. You sure feel like you was born one until you open your mind up to the fact that you aren't one. So there's a fight from the womb in a sense because your life you're not responsible for your life at that moment. Your life is in the hands of those who's either going to call you a nigga, who might not call you a nigga, who might treat you like a little nigga, might, the N word. You understand? It's
So
we
we talking
see.
about, the topic is learning the N-word, right? And in my experience coming up and where I grew up in Pasadena, California, I was called that. Everybody was called that. We called each other that. It was normal. It wasn't a derogatory term. Even my black friends accepted me saying it, accepted my Asian friends and my Latino friends saying it. But I don't know how it feels to walk in a black skin every day and then hear that word or use it. I don't know what that feels like. So I didn't really know
PTSD.
that until I got older. You know what I mean?
And it's
So
a PTSD, and it's a PTSD that we're feeling that has nothing to do with our experience. That's the crazy part.
it's transgenerational influence, man. It's in the
Mhm.
DNA. We spoke about this on previous shows.
So that goes to this question, right? You just spoke to something, and can you become a nigga? Like, can you become a nigga? Like, since you said, growing up in your hood, y'all was throwing it around there like that. Can someone become a nigga? Like, all right, we're not born one, but can you be a nigga?
Only in the true definition of the word, not to what they try to make it out to be. Like if you black, you won. No, you can't become that. You know what I'm saying? And that definition doesn't hold true just because the white man been pushing it down, the public's throat, everybody's throat for the past 400 years. The definition of the word speaks to character. So yeah, you could become one according to the true definition of the word, and you could be any color. They come in, according to the definition, they come in all colors on this planet because it talks about your character. But that word has been changed by the system and by the white man, even in TV and media and history books, man. I mean, come on. So
So that answers the question to the fact of, it says, is the term associated only with race? Is the term only associated with complexion, reflective of behavior and circumstances as well? Like, is the term valid? So let's take it off of a black man. Let's take it off of anybody. Is the term to be used at all? Should it just be eradicated from the dictionary?
You can't. You see, they took the word and try to make it into something else for so many centuries now that people think that's what the word means. I think we need to go back to the dictionary and start teaching what the word really means. And that's where the unlearning comes in. You have to unlearn that word does not refer to the color of your skin. It does not make you a lesser human being. It's like calling somebody stingy or
stupid. Or stupid.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that just means a certain thing. You can't change it. Like everybody of this color is stingy. No, that's not how it go, man.
Right. I got you. So in a sense, different races can be considered the N-word.
Yeah, even though they might not acknowledge it.
Okay. Yeah, right.
I probably
Okay.
know more white ones, according to the definition of describing character, than I do other colored people.
So is there a time where it becomes acceptable? I think that me personally, just so that we can shake it out of our system, get it out of our culture, get it out of our everyday vocabulary, I think it just should be disappear, just something that we just don't use anymore. And I think that's more powerful than anything else, like to just keep incorporating it and try to mold it into some type of slur that's only means one thing. I think we're still playing with a thin line of people, like you said, PTSD for a whole nation.
Yes, and I think it becomes like a scar. You have,
Mhm,
like, I have a scar here, right? And I'm
mhm.
always conscious about covering it. But you have people that be like, when I survived this, I've survived cancer, I survived that. I'm proud of my scars. And now you try to own it, even though it was something that was meant to hurt you. And I feel like that's what I've heard Black people say, is that no, it don't mean that no more. We took it from them and it's ours. And you can't say it no more. We using it as if we flipped it to be a term of
And
endearment.
and that's the thing. The thing is, we flipped it, right? We flipped it as a term of endearment to say, okay, my dude, my dude, my dude, my dude, my dude, my dude, and yo, you know what I mean? And then at the same time, we also use it as a weapon as well. You know what I mean? Yo, you a stupid, like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, on top of us using it in a negative sense, you have a whole nother nationality that uses it purely for in a negative sense. You know what I mean? So it's
I
just
mean, well, let's unlearn these titles, because really and all, it's not another nationality. It's just people of a different skin color. Nationalities speak to where your ancestors come from. You want to
right.
keep where my ancestors came from, where your ancestors came from. We're
Indeed,
just so
indeed.
different from centuries of migration, right? But going back to the topic, man, the word, we've been brainwashed with it for so long. You can't just unlearn it like that. And
So
it
let's
doesn't
let
mean that.
you brought up that you brought it up a few times already. Okay, so the question is, how can we begin to unlearn the word? How can we begin to unlearn it, basically?
I mean, I'm not the authority to speak on that, and I'm
Okay.
looking for the.
I'm going to begin to try to speak on it. They say that the considering it to be a term of endearment make it less derogatory. No, it doesn't. Anytime I hear it, I cringe now, but still in all, I still find myself saying it. And what I found myself saying it is more in a derogatory sense than in a positive sense, because I no longer want to consider my man or my brother a nigga anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So what's shaking off of me is I'm a call you my nigga, or I'm gonna call the next brother my nigga. But I'll say that's a silly you know what I'm saying? I would say that, you know what I mean, in the same breath. So to take forget the term of endearment, take it away, period. That's my thing. You know what I mean? It don't make it any less derogatory.
Yeah,
You
I
understand what
think
I'm saying? Because yeah. It
I
says
think
that
that's a step in the right direction,
right.
And just to share real quick, I mentioned that that's how I grew up. I said it for years until I was an adult. Like I told you, I used to rap. I used to put it in my songs. It was just the way I talked. It wasn't like I was trying to do it. Became a part of me. And it's like, if you ever had a habit and you kick that habit, it takes a certain amount of time before you stop craving that thing. I used to
Right.
smoke cigarettes and I quit. I knew I made up my mind, but other people around me like, man, you just quit yesterday. You ain't quit
Right,
until you
right,
put
right.
time in, And here's a fun fact: it takes 21 to 30 days to break a habit or develop a new one. If you just
Mhm.
practice something straight for a month,
Okay,
the
okay.
human mind is set to break a habit. We have that power.
Y'all heard that, my people, my fellow N-words. Listen, let's practice that for a month. Let's try to keep that out of our mouths for about a month, and let's see if it works, man. Because I know for a fact that other cultures do not stand for the derogatory terms, such as like chinks and spick and kite and what's the Italian one? Isn't it?
Cracker
Yeah,
and,
cracker.
a guinea.
Guinea, yeah, they don't do none of that. You don't hear an Italian, and mind you, the funny part is, it's like what I said. It's if you actually hear them say that, it's actually on and popping. That means like if another Chinese dude called the next Chinese dude chink, trust me, he wants to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wants to fight at that moment. You understand what I'm saying? And but yet here we sit there and just throw it around like it's nothing. We throw it around like it's a toy, and it's not. It's very hurtful. It's very divisive, and it's very painful because it brings back so much memories of why we were called the N-word in the first place. You know what I mean? So in unlearning it, what we have to do is stop. I say cease and stop it. Like, let's get rid of the word. Let's whitewash it. Let's do what they do with stuff. You
You
know what I
know,
mean?
I want to end on this note because I know you know you can wrap it up after I say this, but we're
Mhm,
pressed for time. But I think we also have to learn that the effects of what is called today the Willie Lynch syndrome. So
mhm.
like when you they were against each other, the light from the dark, the kinky hair to the soft hair. They were brought in the house, given food, scraps off the master table. The other ones got scraps from the animal that would have been discarded. So it was always put against each other that I'm better than you ain't better than me. And then they watched the masters degrade them and call them that. And after a while, the house slave basically would think that you on the level of the master and want to call the field slave that. And now this has been carried on for centuries now because it's been a brainwash to put you against each other. So is it really a term of endearment? You know, like you said, in the same breath, you might use it derogatory in a derogatory fashion, and in another breath you might use it as a term of endearment. But this is a centuries long brainwash that if in order to unlearn it, you have to acknowledge those things to say, all right, where did this come from?
Right. And we spoke to those things. We spoke to where it might have come. Well, we all know that it came from slavery. It came from something that they figured to start calling us, to peg us as. And now it's just time to unlearn it. Now we learned what it is. We learned, the pain of it and all that other stuff. A little bit of it, because I actually don't mind a part two to this, because this was actually Joe's thought that Joe wanted to bring this topic, and I wouldn't mind to hear what he really wanted to put to this as well. All right. So I don't think that we did a bad job on it, of course, but I also wouldn't mind hearing what's Joe's take on how can we unlearn the N word as well. Because
Absolutely.
you need all the help in the world to unlearn this word, because I'm telling you, it's a doozy. It keeps popping its head up, and trust me, the wrong one say it to me, it's on and popping. So
Uh,
with that being said, Zachariah, I really, 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 really appreciate you being here still, man. I appreciate the Evening Rush Network. I appreciate Ms. Jada John behind the scenes, always keeping us on point with her research and the such. We got a little research team and all that good stuff. I just want to give everybody else a shout out. I want to give everybody else thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all that you've done for us so far. That is Plugged